These are my favorite movies in alphabetical order. Now, I wanted to make this a little bit challenging by only using movies in my physical media collection. I own about 21% of the movies that I've seen in my whole life, so I couldn't just pick any film. First up is my number movie, and it is 300 by Zack Snyder and his adaptation of Frank Miller's comic of the same name. This movie is amazing with some badass action scenes and some incredible visuals. A is for Avengers Endgame. This movie is amazing, and it was just mind-boggling to see this in theaters, and it was a perfect way to wrap up the Infinity Saga in the MCU. B is for The Batman. This movie is a masterpiece. I saw it twice in the first week that it came out, and it is probably my favorite Batman movie, hands down. C is for Children of Men. This movie is simply brilliant from its long takes to its grittiness. If you have not seen this movie, I highly recommend it. D is for Django Unchained. This movie is probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Its action, the acting performances, the characters, the visual style, this movie was fantastic. E is for Edge of Tomorrow, which is the live-action adaptation of the manga All You Need Is Kill. This Tom Cruise sci-fi action movie is so badass, and I love the concept of the time loop that he has to go through in the movie. F is for a movie you're not supposed to talk about, and that is Fight Club. This movie is by far my favorite movie of all time. I don't know how many times I've seen it, way too many to count. This movie has an amazing story, the characters, the visuals, everything about this is so good. G is for Goodfellas. This is one of the best gangster movies of all time, right next to Godfather 2. This has so many actors who are amazing in this genre, acting alongside of each other. What more could you ask? H is for Heat. This is one of the best bank robbery crime action movies I've ever seen. The shootout alone in this movie was fantastic. If you have not seen this, you need to check it out. I is for Inglourious Basterds. This movie takes place in some parallel universe to our own during World War II, where Jewish American soldiers team up to kill a bunch of Nazis in brutal and awesome fashion. This movie has some fantastic acting, awesome action, and is just super fun to watch. J is for Juno. This is a funny coming-of-age story during the 2000s peak of comedy, and this has one of the best soundtracks. K is for Kill Bill. Now, I'm using my box set because I couldn't really pick between Kill Bill 1 and 2, so I'm just gonna pick both because it's my video. But also, K was a little bit hard to pick for me. There's a lot of K movies that I own that I really wanted to pick, but I'm going with Kill Bill because this movie is iconic. It blends Western and Eastern culture so well together and has so many amazing scenes in this franchise. L is for Logan. This is the best X-Men and Wolverine film, hands down. This is us finally getting to see Wolverine in R-rated fashion and him being brutal, but it's also a really good story. This is a great film. M is for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This movie is the funniest movie I've ever seen. This is my favorite comedy of all time. I can literally quote this whole movie. I love it. N is for No Country for Old Men. This is a good story, good characters, one of the best villains I've ever seen. This is a fantastic film. O is for Owen Bach. People in the West really need to be put on Tony Jaa because he's one of the best modern day martial artists on the big screen right now. This movie kicks a lot of ass. P is for Pulp Fiction. This is one of Quentin Tarantino's best movies, easily top 3. It is so iconic, has so many quotable scenes. This is a great watch. Q is for Quantum of Solace. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Daniel Craig when he first came out, but he did grow on me. Now, this isn't my favorite movie of his, but it is the only Q movie that I own, so I had to pick it. R is for The Raid Redemption. If you have not seen this movie, this kicks so much ass. A cop has to raid a literal tower full of bad guys and kick everyone's butt in the coolest way possible. S is for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Again, this movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen this movie so many times. This movie is such a great comic book adaptation, and it's also stylistically amazing, and a lot of movies need to learn from this film. T is for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. What can I say? This is one of the best action movies to come out in the 90s, and this is the best Terminator movie hands down. This movie, you need to watch it, and it shows why Arnold Schwarzenegger is an action star. U is for Undisputed 2. This is my favorite martial arts movie of all time. You got Michael J. White and Scott Adkins and we get introduced to the coolest character, Yuri Boyka, the most complete fighter of all time. This movie kicks so much ass, has some of the best fight choreography I've ever seen. V is for V for Vendetta. This movie is another comic book adaptation. This movie is fantastic from its story to its visuals to its acting. Everything about this movie was awesome. W is for Watchmen, the director's cut. Zack Snyder took such a beloved comic book and adapted it to live action, and people need to remember that this movie was never going to be exactly like the comic book, and you need to deal with that. This movie was so beautiful to look at, from its stylish looks to its comic accurate costumes. This movie is a ton of fun. X is for X-Men First Class. This is by far the best X-Men movie of the bunch, and I just love this movie. It's a great origin film to the whole X-Men franchise that they got going on. I hope the MCU can bring us a better X-Men movie, but who knows about that. But this is my favorite X-Men movie. Y is for Young Frankenstein. The legend himself, Gene Wilder, should be all I have to say about this movie. But if you don't know, this movie is just super funny. It's the take on Frankenstein, and this movie will have you cracking up. So many quotable lines in this film. And last but not least, Z is for Zoolander. This movie has me laughing all the time. This was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I watched it so many times. It's so quotable, so funny. Derek Zoolander is such a funny character. If you have not watched this, you need to check it out. This list was pretty tough to do because I do not own all of my favorite movies of all time. And also, I don't have as many movies as I would like. I'm still growing my collection. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more, hit that follow button. And as always, thanks for watching.